So, the news is out. Fernando Alonso will be making a grand return to Formula One in 2021 to drive for Renault, the team that gave him his 2 world championships in 2005 and 2006. It's not a surprise to see him come back necessarily. He was very vocal towards the end of 2018 that this wasn't a retirement and he would always be open to returning to Formula One in the future. Well, that day has finally arrived. After a 2-year sabbatical, Fernando Alonso will be rejoining Renault in 2021, and he will be partnered by Esteban Ocon. But did Renault make the right decision by signing Alonso? Now, I have absolutely no doubt that Fernando Alonso is an incredible driver and Formula One will be lucky to have him back, but I still don't think that Renault should have signed him over other prospects. Let's take a look at who Renault could have signed. So, Renault could have gone for Nico Hulkenberg, a driver who drove for them for 3 years prior to his exit at the end of the 2019 season. His seat was taken by Esteban Ocon, who previously drove for Force India / Racing Point, and therefore there was no place for him at Renault beyond 2019. However, would it have been worthwhile to bring him back for a season in 2021 and potentially beyond? He is only 32 years old, which is a whopping 6 years younger than Alonso is. Fernando Alonso being older than most of the drivers on the grid does not make him any less of a driver, and he's still of an incredible calibre. However, his age does mean that he is more restricted in the amount of years that he'll be able to continue with Formula One. He will have maybe 2 or 3 years left in the sport before he probably retires for good. With someone like Hulkenberg at only 32 years old, he's definitely got potentially another 5 years of racing skill and ability to dedicate to a team like Renault. And it's a shame that they passed on him yet again. So yeah, I think it's a genuine shame that Renault is unable to recognise the work that Hulkenberg has done for the past 3 years and have then failed to give him another opportunity to kind of come back, help them develop the car and be a general asset to the team again. We know that Hulkenberg is a consistent driver and Renault definitely needs a little bit of consistency with its lineup. In the last few years, they have constantly been changing the lineup. So in 2019, we had Hulkenberg and Ricciardo. In 2018, we had Hulkenberg and Sainz. 2017, Julian Palmer and Hulkenberg. So I do think Renault would have benefited from a little bit of consistency by bringing Hulkenberg back. Another option would have been to go for either of the 2 drivers that are currently driving in Formula 2 that are in the Renault Sport Academy. Guan Yu Zhou had his rookie season in 2019 and managed to finish 7th in the championship, so he did a really, really great job. He is the current Renault test driver after Jack Aitken moved away. He would be a great option to get in that car after having done 2 full seasons of Formula 2. He will have built up his experience in Formula 2 and be a little bit more prepared for Formula 1. On the other hand, I can completely understand that Renault would have wanted to go for someone a little bit more experienced, but maybe they should have gone for someone like Hulkenberg to fill that seat for a year before someone like Guan Yu Zhou would be ready to jump in it for 2022. The other current Formula 2 driver, Christian Lundgaard, would also have been a great option for Renault to have a look at. He has been a part of the Renault Sport Academy for a number of years now and has won the Formula 4 Spanish Championship and the SMP Formula 4 Championship, both in 2017. Though 2020 will be his first full year in Formula 2, he has demonstrated great driving skill in the past and could potentially be a really great option for Renault in the future. Of either Formula 2 driver, I think Guan Yu Zhou is definitely the one that will be in that Renault seat first. Renault really needs a driver with whom it can look to the future, and someone like Guan Yu Zhou or Christian Lundgaard are definitely characters that would fill that position. Another driver that Renault could have looked into is Sebastian Vettel. So there was a lot of media buzz around the possibility of Vettel moving to Renault after he announced his departure from Ferrari. Personally, I never saw any truth to these rumours and I could not picture Sebastian Vettel and Renault working together. I just don't think that either would be a good fit for the other. I still firmly believe that Sebastian Vettel won't continue in Formula 1 if he can't be in a top car, and Renault won't be able to give him a top car for a couple of years at least. So yeah, I think it's a good thing that Renault have gone with somebody other than Sebastian Vettel, as I don't think he was ever a really good option for Renault. And finally, the last driver I'd like to talk about is Valtteri Bottas. Now, we don't know yet what talks he's been in with Mercedes about renewing his contract beyond the end of 2020, but with 2 strong junior Mercedes drivers in Esteban Ocon and George Russell, I'm not sure that Valtteri Bottas is secure in his place at Mercedes. Bottas is now an 8-time Grand Prix winner. and would have been a great option to pair alongside Esteban Ocon. Obviously, Fernando Alonso is a very experienced driver and very accomplished as well, but having such a great driver on the team could be detrimental to Ocon's progress, especially with Fernando's character. So yeah, I think Valtteri Bottas would have been a really good option for Renault to consider. Obviously, we don't know any details about a future contract with Mercedes, but Renault could also have been a good option for Valtteri to retreat to if Mercedes did decide to let him go at the end of 2020 or 2021. Okay, so having talked about all of the drivers that Renault could have possibly chosen, what are the advantages and disadvantages of Renault actually choosing Alonso? A massive upside to Alonso coming back will definitely be the sponsorship that he brings. Unfortunately, we're going to have this budget cap of 145 million, so therefore the sponsorship that he will bring might not necessarily have such an impact as it would have in the past. Renault have also shot themselves in the foot a little bit with finances. So Fernando Alonso is not a cheap driver. We currently don't have any information on his contract length, although it is assumed to be a 2-year contract, or his salary. But we can definitely rest assured that it's not going to be cheap. I think it will be a shame that Fernando Alonso is not going to be returning to F1 in a championship winning car. We all would love to see someone of his skill and ability to be right at the front of the grid fighting for wins, but that's not going to happen with Renault. I feel like Renault, looking towards the future, should not have signed Fernando Alonso, someone who won't be with them for more than 2 or 3 years. It's all very well and good looking fondly to the past and the great memories that Alonso and Renault have shared over the years, but I feel like Renault were very much looking to the past when they made this decision, when they should have been looking to the future. Anyway, let me know what you guys think about Alonso's return to Renault. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and thank you so much for watching.